2015, the Protecting Canadians from Online Crime Act became law. It aims to protect Canadians from cyberbullying, one of many online harms users face. Cyberbullying on social media platforms, in emails, and via text messaging affects 3 out of 10 Canadian youth, according to Public Safety Canada. In February 2024, the government introduced the Online Harms Act to further reduce harmful content on social media platforms, specifically subject matter that incites violence, terrorism, hatred, and content used to bully a child.
There's no perfect solution here. What we have to aim for is improving things and making things better and being keenly aware of any knock-on effects. So you look at online harms legislation, for example, is it going to make, the social media, toxicity free? Absolutely not. In fact, if it's operating well, it will lean on the side of freedom of expression and it will be an imperfect tool. But the goal is to improve these spaces of discourse and ultimately to the betterment of democracy and our own dignity. We have some challenges that we're going to have to deal with going forward that are not covered by this legislation. And the key one would be private messaging. So the legislation does not cover private messaging. There are practical reasons why that was decided. Just the sheer scope of what you'd have to take on in creating a regulator means that private messaging would just be adding an additional layer of complication. But there's also privacy and cybersecurity concerns. It tends to incentivize surveillance. But here's the rub, here's the problem. A lot of the harms that are happening in these private spaces are proliferating in private messaging. So WhatsApp, Snapchat, Telegram groups, just even private messaging on Facebook or even through email. Often, some of the worst things are being communicated in these smaller groups or individual to individual. Ultimately, they should be regulated. It's like any consumer protection. There should be accountability and there should be oversight of these corporations. But we have to be clear that we are still relying on them often for the solutions here, so we have to incentivize them to keep exploring.
There's been a lot of conversation, which I think is really interesting, about how we overprotect young people in the real world and underprotect them online, right? So there is a shift that we need, young people definitely need more support online, but how do we also make sure that's in dialogue with young people and respectful of young people's lived experience? Because again, we're not the ones as adults who are online as much as they are. We're not the ones whose social realities need the online space or use it as much. So we really need to rely on that. So it's about dialogue. It's about young people relying on us for support, but also us giving young people respect and agency.
The Online Harms Bill would create a new online harms regulator, an ombudsperson, and staff to enforce the regulations if the bill becomes law. Watch and read more about disinformation, cyberbullying, and online harms at cpac.ca/disinformation-and-democracy. Regardez cette émission et lisez davantage sur la désinformation, la cyberintimidation et les méfaits en ligne à cpac.ca/désinformation-et-démocratie.